God, you call me by my name. The love you give me, I just can't deny.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tashana, and this is part 2 of my testimony, how God saved me, and this video is specifically about denouncing. First, I'm gonna talk about a little bit of my background, how I became aware of what Greek life was and how I got into it or whatever. So, nobody in my immediate family is Greek. There's a few distant family members who are Greek. So I was a little bit, like, I knew what it was a little bit at that time. This is just like growing up. In middle school and high school, I had dance instructors who were both Deltas, and then there were many teachers who were Greek. So I became a little bit more aware of what it was. Like middle and high school, I was a little bit more interested in it, and I was like, okay, I probably want to do that when I get to college or whatever. So by the time I did get to college, I already had my mindset. I knew what I wanted to do, and I took the steps to do it. So I crossed Delta in fall of 2017, and I denounced in September of 2023. Denouncing is a very big decision, and oftentimes people are wondering, oh, why did so-and-so do that? Or what's really, like, people are wondering what's really going on, but not enough to actually see what's really going on. So that's why I kind of want to make this video, to explain how I came to the decision, to explain why it's important for other believers in Christ to make the decision as well, and address some of the common things that are said regarding denouncing. Everybody's story is different of how they joined, how they felt going through it, and if you came out, how you come out. For me, I had never, during the initiation process, I had never felt any type of conviction or any, I didn't have any weird feelings about what was going on, even though we were performing rituals and doing all these other ungodly things. I never even thought twice about it, honestly. I just was like, okay, I want to be a Delta. I made it on the line. Let's see what we got to do, and let's do it. That's basically the mindset that I had. The overall narrative with Greek organizations is never anything negative about it. So going in, I wasn't trying to see if it was good or bad. I didn't have any inkling in me that said I shouldn't be doing this or that it was bad. So I'm in. I never had any reservations about what was going on. And after we crossed, I was very active and very proud to be a part of it. I'll just skip over a lot because it's not important, and get to when I started having thoughts about denouncing. So years go by, we've graduated, mostly everyone has graduated, and one of my former line sisters had denounced. At this time, this was probably like 2019 maybe, so not too far after, but time had passed, we had graduated, and so she denounced, and I still really didn't feel anything about it. The way she explained it was that, you know, she had some things going on. Like, she explained it in a way where it seemed like it was something personal for her. She didn't say anything about the actual organization itself. So I was like, okay. I did try to think about it a little bit, but I'm like, okay, maybe people leave because of the underground process, what happens during that time. But like, we had already done, like, we were done with that. So it's like, if you're still holding on to that, that's you. But I'm gonna just let that go. I can repent for like that stuff that I did in the past. Like, I'm just not gonna condone it anymore now. But everything about the organization, I was still in tune with, like, no, this is good. Like, there's nothing, I haven't seen anything bad going on within this organization. So that was my thought process. People are denouncing because of underground things, whatever. It's not anything official that is causing people to denounce. That's what I was thinking. So then a couple more years passed by. This is probably like 2021. My sister wanted to join the organization. And I mean, obviously, once that it started in your family, it's kind of like a curse, kind of like, okay, my cousin is a so-and-so, I want to be this, or I want to be that too. And it's just like your children and other parts of your family, oh, I want to try to do grad chapter, it's so cool, everybody, let's do it. But it shouldn't be that way. So she tried to join or whatever. Something went wrong with the application, and she wasn't able to cross. So I was kind of relieved at that point, because I knew what I had went through, and I didn't want her to experience that, and I didn't know how she would react to it. But at this point, I'm still thinking underground. I'm still not thinking of the official process. When my sister did get in, I kind of felt like there was a protection from God. Now that I know what I know, I feel like that was God protecting her from doing something that he never intended for his children to do. So a couple more years passed by, and I learned that somebody else from the chapter had denounced, but her reasoning was a little bit different, and I never knew her full reason, but I knew it had to do with Minerva. So at this point, I'm like, hold on, I never thought about that before. But I'm like, I can kind of see why. Like, now I'm like, okay, I kind of see why she did that. Like, oh, she was uncomfortable, even though I didn't know the full reason that she had. I'm still not thinking about denouncing, but I'm thinking about why people denounce and what their reasonings could be. So more recently, like last year, kind of like the middle of last year, 2023, that's when this happened, and I was kind of just like still trying to understand why are people denouncing. Even had conversations with people that were Greek, like, oh, why people do that? And then, all of the excuses were brought up of why people try to say that other people denounce without, asking them, oh, why did you denounce? Because, I mean, if we would just ask people, why did you denounce, then we wouldn't have to assume, we wouldn't have to try to make excuses, but we're kind of like just feeding into our own demise by like not seeking the truth. After that, I kind of started thinking about, okay, she said Minerva, but what about Minerva? So I tried to like remember parts of the process that had to do with Minerva. I couldn't really like place it or really remember what had happened. I just knew that we had learned about her and that she was a Roman goddess. So I was like, okay, I still kind of don't know. And I called myself going through the ritual to see, like, it got to be in here why people are denouncing then. Or no, I was looking at the ritual to say, oh, I don't need to denounce because it's nothing wrong. That's why that was my initial, that was my mindset going into looking through the ritual. So I barely even like read it for real. I just kind of like flipped through the pages, looked at the initiation part a little bit, and there was only one part that kind of stood out to me at that moment, and that was the part where it says we believe in a spiritual life, but we leave it up to the participant to determine the medium or something like that. So I was like, the medium, that's kind of weird. But I was like, but that's not a reason to say, oh, this is not of God. And honestly, I just closed it and didn't look back at it. I'm like, I don't see nothing. But I wasn't really looking. I was like, I don't see nothing. Close it. After that, I was still thinking about it for like months. But I was just like, I was still thinking about it here and there, but I had never actually went to seek the truth. I had never went to go find a video or look up a website to see why are people denouncing or how it's not of God. I never did any of those things. I just was going with my thoughts and making excuses every time I thought of something. So the next thing that kind of stood out to me was the songs. I started thinking about the lyrics, specifically in All of My Love and the Sweetheart song, and how it's saying like, all of my love, my peace and happiness, I'm gonna give it to. And which is something that all the orgs sing and like sing it on a regular basis, basically. And it's like, it didn't sit well with me anymore. I'm like, all of my love, no, I ain't gonna do that. Like, I didn't agree with it anymore. Originally, I was singing it with my whole heart and, you know, whatever, if I meant it or not, like, I was in agreement with it, basically. But now I'm not. And even in the Sweetheart song where it says, oh, whatever, but Delta is our first love. I'm like, Delta's not my first love, though. Like, it's just something. Like, at this point, I was not active or anything, but like, I was very much still in contact with people and still wearing apparel or whatever. And I was just like, it was just something that I had did, but it wasn't my first love or anything like that. I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to sing that song in my wedding or whatever. And that was my thinking at that point. And time continues to go on, and I'm steady making excuses for everything that was coming up in my mind. So as the time went on, I was feeling more distanced with the organization and like just feeling like it wasn't that important anymore. But I was still like proud to be one, I guess. And I guess that probably had to do with like not being active and moving out of state, so I wasn't like around the chapter or around events that was going on. During all this thinking and back and forth with, oh, is it of God or is it not? God was also like doing a work in me, and like I was committing myself to Him, committed to living for Him and learning more about Him and His Word. So I definitely believe that was a pivotal part of me coming to make this decision, because there were several things that He stripped out of my life that I was just obedient, and things I didn't go back to. I was just like, all right, we can let that go. So now for it to be, I took away all these things. Now Delta is left here, and I have a small inkling of, oh, this might not be of God, but I still want to be a part of it. I still don't want to seek the truth. I still don't really know if it is or not. So I feel like stripping away all those things, being obedient, listening for God's voice, having increased discernment, like, kind of set me up to make this decision. Like, my heart posture has changed. I wasn't defensive about it anymore, or like, I don't think I was ever really just defensive to the point of like, oh, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that. I was just like, you know, whatever. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I don't understand. It was more so of like, I don't understand what they're saying or why they're saying it. I don't think I was really defensive about it. But now I went from like, I don't understand, to Lord, if it's really not of you, like, just let me know. For real this time. Just let me know. And I felt like I wasn't really getting specific signs or whatnot, but it had got to the point where I was thinking about it when I went to sleep. I was thinking about it when I woke up, like, is it of God or not? Is it of God or not? Is it of God or not? Like, do I need to denounce? Do I need to denounce? And the constant, do I need to denounce? That was going on for like maybe a week or two. Probably, no, in between that. And so one day I had seen somebody repost something about someone denouncing, and she kind of laid out some things. I don't even remember what was specifically in the post, but I was like, you know what? That's it. This is just something I gotta let go. Like, if I continue to try to hold on to this one thing, what was the purpose of letting go of all the other things? Like, it wouldn't have any, if I'm continuing to hold on to something that I feel like I shouldn't, then that's basically a problem. And it's basically what an idol is. Like, if God, let's just say, God is telling you to let go of something or to not do something, and you continue to want to do it, you like, nah, I'm keep doing this over what God says. Or you like, oh, I'm never going to let this go, no matter what. How some people say, I'm never going to leave. I don't care what anybody says. You've made an idol out of it. So I was like, I'm going to just let it go. I'm going to just let it go. And I don't care. At this point, I still had no idea of like what was actually going on with these organizations. I was just like, if it was something that God wanted me to stay in, I would have peace about it. Like, I've been having peace. I've been having joy. And now, when I'm thinking about this, I can't get it out of my head. I would have peace about it if God wanted me to stay. So I was just like, I'm gonna leave. And I looked up, how to denounce something very generic on Google. Came across a website, and I'll link it below, out from among them. And at this point is when I started to learn things. And like, they have information and resources on the website. And so I'm just reading. I'm like, there's no way. Like, some of the stuff you will read and you will learn is unbelievable to think people are co-signing this and like glorifying it, basically. But if we look and see what it really is, if we could accept it for what it really is, it would be a whole different story, I feel like. So I'm reading everything, and I'm reading from like different organizations, like all the different organizations and all the fact checking the scriptures, the excerpts from the rituals and all these things, and I'm just in awe at this point. And they have a renunciation prayer on there, and basically the materials to send the letter to nationals. So I did all of that, and now it's like, okay, I made the decision, now I have to tell people. And it's like, that was really the part that was emotionally taxing, I guess. Just telling people, because because we already know what the narrative is with denouncing and the assumptions that are going to be made and all these things. So I was the admin of our like full chapter group, all the lines, and so I switched it over to somebody else and I left the group. I didn't know if I was going to take time to tell people or what, but I really didn't have that option because somebody asked me why did I leave. So I was just like, let me just go ahead and tell everybody. Told the people that was close to me, told my former line sisters. And I kind of just dropped it, left the group. And then the people that I told, wasn't really any questions. It was just, support you, whatever. It's good that you're doing what God's told you to do, basically. So I'm just like, okay. And originally, when I made the decision, I didn't plan on talking about it or speaking out about it, because I was like, it was personal. This is like, I don't have peace about this anymore, so I'm gonna leave. But when I started reading the stuff on their website, it's like, ain't no way I can keep quiet about this after I have learned all these things. So now I'm gonna talk about what I learned, and I'm gonna specifically be talking about Delta, because that was my experience. But I just want to put it out there that it's every organization that these things that I'm about to talk about applies to. It's all of them. None of them in the D9, none of them are exempt from being demonic, basically. And I know, like, people get mad when you use that word, but that's what it is. We gotta call it how it is. We have to stop trying to tiptoe over things because of people's feelings. So it's all the organizations, to my understanding, it's all Greek organizations, period. I can't speak specifically about anything outside of D9 because I'm not knowledgeable about it. But I have watched just a few people talk about it. There are other people that are coming out of so-called Christian organizations where it's the same type of things going on, and they've come out of it. In honor societies, these Greek letter honor societies, people are coming out of it because it's the same type of things that are going on. So it's not just D9, it's all of it. So what did I learn? First off, I want to say that I don't know a single person who remembers what was said during initiation. Because for one, by the time you get to initiation, which is at the end of your process, like right before the probate, you wore out. You've been doing all these things, you've been learning all this stuff. You like, okay, this the end. What I gotta say, come on, let's say it. And so we can be done. We're not aware of what's going on at that time. So I'm pretty sure nobody remembers what's in it or even what's in the ritual at all, because I know I didn't remember. And I feel like if people remembered, it would be more discussion, or it would be talked about if people remembered. Nobody remembers, and we're not going back to look. So anyway, Each Greek organization has a false god or goddess that is attached to it that governs the organization. For Delta, it's specifically Minerva, which is the Roman goddess. I want to go over a few definitions first before we really get into this topic of like the false gods and goddesses. An idol is an image or representation of a god used as an object of worship. And then also, these Roman gods and goddesses and these Greek gods and goddesses, people actually do worship them. I know in high school we learned about Greek mythology, and we just learned it as like part of our curriculum, and that it wasn't real. But people really worship these gods and goddesses, false gods. A ritual is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. I don't even have to like explain that we were doing rituals because the book is called A Ritual. So like some of this stuff is like right in our face and we kind of look over it. But if this organization was just about sisterhood, scholarship, and service, why do we need a ritual? We wouldn't need it if that's what it was about. Now I want to talk about some of the specific things that are said in the Delta ritual, and this is online for anyone who doesn't know. So the whole ritual is not online, but there are parts of it that is online, and those are the parts that I'm going to reference. During initiation ritual, these are the things that are said. Do you of your own free will in accord seek admission into Delta? After that, you are about to take upon yourselves vows and obligations from which you can never be freed. They will follow you to the final judgment. What that sound like? The final judgment. We know what the final judgment is. And it's saying this is going to follow you to the final judgment. You can never be freed from it. And you are taking on obligations and vows. All of these words are not in here for no reason. It's here for a reason. Because we are yoking ourselves with these false gods and goddesses. When we agree to these things, when we are seeking upon our free will, seeking admission into these organizations. And then the pledge says, I, so-and-so, do promise in the presence of the eternal spirit of truth. I'm gonna pause right there. In the presence of the eternal spirit of truth. Like, they didn't say what this meant. Like, it wasn't nothing. That was kind of just skipped over. I don't even remember hearing that or saying that. But who is the eternal spirit of truth? If it's supposed to be Minerva, then we know it's not just something we're saying. This is an actual spiritual being, which all of these false gods and goddesses are demons. For scriptural reference that false gods, goddesses, or whatever are demons, I want to talk about two. The first one is Deuteronomy 32, 16 and 17. It says, they stirred up his jealousy by worshiping foreign gods. They provoked his fury with detestable deeds. They offered sacrifices to demons which are not God, to gods they had not known before, to new gods only recently arrived, to gods their ancestors had never feared. The second scripture is 1 Corinthians 10, verse 19 through 21. It says, what am I trying to say? Am I saying that food offered to idols has some significance, or that idols are real gods? No, not at all. I am saying that these sacrifices are offered to demons, not to God. And I don't want you to participate with demons. So just in these two specific instances, false gods, foreign gods are used synonymously with demons. On each crest does not have the false god or goddess that is associated with the organization, but a few of them do have it on the crest. For Delta, Minerva is on the crest. And so just knowing that, like, what this deity is, and knowing that we're wearing this on ourselves, on our bodies, proudly wearing it, rocking it, that doesn't sit well, and it's definitely not godly. Like, why would we have anything that's representing a false god or goddess and wearing it or even acknowledging it? Back to the pledge. Promising the presence of the eternal spirit of truth. Then you skip down a little bit. It says, I do further solemnly promise that I will dedicate my life to the 9 cardinal virtues of DST. If we're just reading it, we're just looking at it like, why are we saying we're going to dedicate our lives to Delta? How can we dedicate our lives to Delta and to God? We can't. And even in some of the rituals, it talks about you have to give your whole mind, body, and soul to the organization. But in the Bible, it says you give your mind, body, and soul to God. So you can't do both of these things at the same time. You have to choose one. Let me just say this. There's so many things that can be said about this topic. And there's so much deception within the organizations that videos could go on and on and on. But I'm trying to stick to specific things, and I promise you, whatever information you want to know, it's out there and you can find it. So the next reference to the ritual is after the Delta prayer, which is like, why do we need a prayer? So many things. But anyway, after that, it says, we believe in a spiritual life, but we leave to the individual the selection of the medium for its outward manifestation. Then there's this poem with all of these things talking about crystal balls and all this stuff. And basically it just mixed Jesus in with all of these other things, which is what all the other false religions do. All of these things show that this is not a Christian organization. But specifically this, we know as Christians that Jesus is the only way. So how could it be possible? Why would a Christian organization be acknowledging all of these other things that are ungodly and trying to mix Jesus in with it? Because it's not a Christian organization, point blank, period. Also in the rituals, and this is in all of the D9 rituals, they manipulate scripture. I'm going to read the definition for pervert. It means to alter something from its original course, meaning or state, to a distortion or corruption of what was first intended. For Delta specifically, one example that I want to share is in the beginning of the ritual. It says a meditation for Delta, a paraphrase of 1 Corinthians 13. It says that in the ritual. And so throughout this paraphrase, it basically takes God out and it adds the organization in. And that's in many of the, throughout the ritual, that's basically what it's doing. It's taking God out and adding the organization in. You're committing your life to the organization instead of to God. And you're doing things in the name of, to bring glory and honor to the name of the organization instead of bringing glory and honor to God. Like all of the good things that supposedly come from these organizations is in the name of the organization. There's never any glory to God. It's all to the work. Taking scripture, changing it, we know that's demonic. And for scriptural reference, Revelations 22 18 through 19. I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this book. God is very specific and very clear not to add anything or take anything away from the Bible. And these organizations do both of those things by taking God out and adding themselves in. And, you know, whoever wrote these rituals, they're going to have to answer for that. And whoever is participating and not repenting, renouncing, denouncing these things is going to have to answer for it as well. Next, I want to talk about the danger of legacies and the danger of grooming little children to want to be a part as well, or saying from birth we're putting future this and future that on them. And basically you're starting a generational curse of idolatry. So, okay, you're in an organization, you're in idolatry. Next, your daughter, you have a daughter. Oh, she wants to join just like mommy. She's in idolatry. Her daughter, her son. You want to marry somebody that's in the organization because that's cool too. Oh, this love and that love. A family of idolatry. And this is something that we really have to stop with the children. Because Jesus was very specific and very clear about leading children astray. And for scriptural reference, Matthew 18 verse 6, it says, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin," idolatry is sin, "it will be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." So, I mean, that's pretty vivid and that's pretty clear. I don't even think it needs any more explanation from me. Like, we have to stop trying to put this on other people, and we need to start spreading the truth so that our people can come out of the shackles of Greek organizations. It's not cool. Like, it's sin. I think this has a more direct concern because other sins people have already acknowledged as sin. The general consensus regarding Greek organizations is that, oh, they're good, I want to join, I want my children to join, etc. Until the general consensus changes, until the truth is revealed to the masses, which is why people make these videos, to get the truth out, it's never gonna change. So yeah, we have to look past, oh, it's cute, the colors are cute, the animals, whatever, the calls, the signs, the strokes. We have to look past all of that. What is this rooted in? It's rooted in deception. It's rooted in satanic practices. We were always told, oh, do your research, do your research. But when they were saying do your research, it was learn the founders, when was it founded, those type of things. It wasn't where was this originated. Like, the founders of these organizations were not the first to make Greek organizations. White fraternities and sororities had already existed, and they weren't allowed to join, so they wanted to go and make their own. But what did they use? They had a blueprint. They didn't come up with this stuff on their own. All of this traces back to Freemasonry. And I'm not even gonna get into that, but if you want to do research, do some real research about the origins of these organizations and what actually goes on in them. Alright, so I'm going to change gears a little bit and basically address some of the frequently asked questions or common thoughts surrounding denouncing. A lot of people will say, I prayed to join this organization, which I have said that as well. But we have to ask ourselves, what was our prayer? Was our prayer, Lord, please let me make it in. Let me be a Delta. Or was our prayer, God, is this something that you want me to do? And I think it goes beyond Greek organization, because we get ourselves into things on a day-to-day basis that God never intended for us to be in, because we're not coming to Him first. And if we would have come to Him about this decision, then I'm pretty sure we would have had a change of heart, and not just, oh God, let me get in. Oh, I got in. That must have been God. Let's not say that. Next, I didn't put the organization before God. I didn't idolize the org. A little bit on this. The Bible says, God says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. We know that the first commandment says, you shall have no other gods before me. Now, let's talk about before. Usually, when I thought about this, I would think of 1, 2, 3 before, like in order. But before, you can have something before someone, like in front of, and we don't think about it in that way. So if He says not to have any other gods before me, as in my presence, in front of me, we have already failed by wearing jackets, whatever other type of paraphernalia that has these deities on it, or that has symbols that represent these deities. And that goes for every organization as well. Like, if the deity is not actually physically on there, there's symbols that represent it. And then also, to say that you didn't put the organization before God, let's think about that a little bit. How much time did you spend researching? How much time did you spend going through the process, learning information, memorizing information, sacrificing sleep, sacrificing money, sacrificing time? You're putting everything else to the side, including God. So whether you want to say before as in 1, 2, 3, or before as in front of me, we have failed on both of those fronts. Still on this same point, once people join the organization, we already know another line has to come out. So we're going out, we're seeking, we're grooming people. Oh, I'm going to choose her. I'm going to help her to get in this organization. I'm going to say all these good things about the organization. I'm going to put this organization on a pedestal. This is the best. Bloop, 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 bloop. You have become a disciple of your organization. But we're supposed to be disciples of Jesus. We're supposed to be spreading the word of God, but instead we're influencing people to join something that is not pleasing to God. I feel like this video is getting long, so I'm going to go ahead and go through the rest of what I have here. Why can't people leave quietly? Very simple. Ephesians 5:11 says, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So that's why, to expose the darkness, to bring awareness to truth. My pastor, my first lady, is Greek. First off, I want to say, your pastor is not the standard. Jesus is the standard. Not your mama, not your dad, not your grandma, not anybody human in this world can be the standard, because we have sinful natures. So just because your pastor do it or your pastor is a part of it does not make it right. And Romans 16:17-18 says, I appeal to you, brothers, to watch out for those who cause divisions and create obstacles contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Avoid them. For such persons do not serve our Lord Christ, but their own appetites. And by smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the hearts of the naive. So basically, Paul is saying you can't not to listen to someone who is saying something that is contrary to God's word. And Greek organizations are contrary to God's word, contrary to popular belief. So, last finishing remarks to close this video out. Why is this topic extremely important? It's because the multitude of people that have been deceived is astronomical. And we, in order for it to start going in the other direction, where people are realizing that these organizations are not what they seem, we have to keep talking about it. And also 1 Corinthians 6:9-11, or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. So it's important. Idolatry is on that list, and it's important that we turn and repent from it. And the next verse 11 says, and such were some of you, but you were washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and by the Spirit of our God. So, just like you may have been living a life of sin, in some particular sin, and you came and you repented and turned away from it, we can do the same thing with these organizations. We can come out of idolatry, we can repent for it, and we can turn away from it. We can expose the darkness and reveal the truth about it. I know after hearing all of this, some people will realize that, okay, it's not of God, but not have the strength or courage to leave. But just know that God will strengthen you. He will give you the boldness to leave, and because you're doing something that is pleasing to Him, so He will be with you in bringing you out of covenant with these other deities. Philippians 2:13 says, for it is God who works in you both to will and to work for His good pleasure. Coming out is for His good pleasure. He will help you. And honestly, you don't have to take what anybody says as truth, even though it is the truth. I encourage you to still go to God in prayer about this. Seek Him, seek His truth, and know that He will reveal things to you. You will have a better understanding of what these organizations stand for, where they come from, and what they are rooted in. The definition of renounce is to give up, refuse, or resign, usually by formal declaration. So this is when you say your renunciation prayer, you come out of covenant and you send your papers off to nationals. Just another little tidbit on that. I sent myself off. I included my membership card with that, and I did receive a letter back. I know everyone doesn't receive a letter back. I'm not sure what the difference is or what that is caused by, but that's just specifically what I did, and Everything I use I'll link in the description box. And the definition of denounce is to publicly declare it to be wrong or evil. So that is when people say, oh, I'm leaving this organization because it's not of God, basically. So usually you will hear people say renounce and denounce the organization. So that's really all that I have for this video. It's definitely a mouthful, and it's definitely much more that can be said, but I promise you, if you go to God and you ask him to reveal truth to you, then you can go ahead and make your decision and come out and be back in right standing with God. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me, leave comments, and that's all I have. Bye.